Hi guys, welcome to Storytime Tarot Tales. I'm Jason. At the last video, we left Aurelle and Rosemary at the top of the observatory. Now, granted, the observatory, things got dark and obviously the night got late, so they retired. Rosemary showed her to a bedroom. The next morning, when Aurelle got up, Rosemary had breakfast prepared. Ooh. We have look for the signs. And soul satisfaction. So Aurelle enjoyed her breakfast with Rosemary, and Rosemary asked her, "What brought you here? What was your true interest in the observatory?" Aurelle's answer was simply, "I've looked at the observatory. I've seen it from the distance, ever since I was a little girl. So I wanted to come see it for myself when I was old enough. So when I was able to leave the village in the high mountain, the hidden valley, I left and I came here." Aurelle knew her soul would have been satisfied from that desire of wanting to be at the observatory all the years of her life. So Rosemary inquired, "What's your next step? What are you going to do next if you've accomplished this one little goal?" She wasn't quite sure. A unicorn portal. So Rosemary pulled out a book, handed it to Aurelle. The book was a book on falling stars. We might call them meteorites today. But to them, they were falling stars. Just as this was occurring, there was a commotion outside. Out in the courtyard, a unicorn had shown up. Got healer. We have prosperity. Aurelle, not knowing what a unicorn was vastly intrigued by it. What is it? I've never seen one before. And Rosemary replied, well, unicorns visit us periodically. Because of our knowledge and our practices here at the observatory, they stop in and visit us. Sometimes they bring prosperity to us because the observatory was completely funded by donations and by the goodness of the people. She expounded upon that. And sometimes the unicorns stop and heal us because we're sick in some way or another. Aurelle was fascinated. Again, didn't understand what was going on, didn't understand the world of magic, didn't understand the importance of the unicorn stopping by. Aurelle, not quite trusting of the situation, held back a little bit. Kind of stayed in the edge of the courtyard. The unicorn was in the middle. At this time, there were a great many scholars that had formed in the courtyard around the unicorn, all curious as to why it was there. Very few people could communicate with the unicorn. Not so many people were just allowed access to speak to the unicorn because their hearts weren't pure. Now, on the day that this happened, the unicorn singled out Aurelle. Started walking towards her. Aurelle, being frightened by the creature, started moving around the courtyard. But the unicorn followed and persisted. Not in a menacing way, just following. Wherever she went, around the courtyard, around and around. She tried to hide behind scholars. She tried to hide behind Rosemary. All the while clutching that book of falling stars. She realized that the unicorn meant her no harm. She was only fearful because of this massive spike coming out of the top of the unicorn's head. She had no idea what it was there for. Anyway, understanding that she wasn't being pursued out of anger or any kind of negative emotion, she stopped and she faced the unicorn. Still very, very frightened, the unicorn approached her very, very cautiously, bowed his head down to Aurelle so that the horn on the unicorn's head pointed at her heart. Aurelle reached her arm out. The unicorn backed up just a bit. The unicorn was just as afraid of Aurelle as Aurelle was of the unicorn. However, there was a bond being initiated, being started right in that moment. And so, with Aurelle extending her hand and the unicorn bowing its head, came together, and Aurelle put her hand just on the side of the unicorn's head. In this instance, in this moment, both the unicorn and Aurelle knew that they had a connection. Somehow in this transference, they knew they had to leave the observatory, depart, and go on their merry way. It didn't take much. Aurelle looked at Rosemary. Rosemary looked back and could see Aurelle was leaving with the unicorn. Well, oh, this is a lot. I don't know if I'm going to take all this. So we got the Fool of the Jester, we have the Garden, and we have the Witch's Coven. There's a garden just outside of town. It was controlled by a witch's coven. They wanted to fool Aurelle and the unicorn. Somehow they had done some scrying and they had seen what was going on. They wanted to stop it desperately. Yet they couldn't. It had already happened. By the time they had seen it, scrying, looking into the water for a sign, this had all transpired and already happened. The Arctic Iceland was an oak grove dedicated to the elementals of this world. There was court. And angelic intercession. The unicorn already knew what the witches were up to. Because of the immense magical capacity of the unicorn, she was aware what was going on with the witches. Now in this Arctic Iceland where the oak grove mysteriously grew out of nowhere, where the judgment was made, whatever that was planned, this witch's coven was already starting to form, there was going to be intercession. I'm not taking that. Yeah, I'm not taking that. That was crazy. Oh, I might take that one. Alright. Guild Hall came out. Somewhere in the Guild Hall. There was talk of a castle. Karmic lessons. In the Guild Hall of Thieves, there was talk. Something against the castle. However, one of the thieves knew that there was going to be something wrong. Or something not right. And so you can see the wheel in this card. He stepped away. Stepped out of the plan for a theft. So, the thief left the hall. Walked out into the forest, just outside of town, where he was very, very close Tibetan fire serpent. Anyway, this thief walks out into a garden, or out into the forest, and he was very, very close to the garden where the coven was. Now the witches were too busy, too focused on the unicorn and Aurelle, where they were going, so on and so forth. So they paid no attention to this thief out in the forest. Didn't trouble them at all. So the thief sat in the forest and watched these witches. They did all kinds of crazy things, and sometimes it was fun to watch. But for whatever reason, this day was a little bit different, because he knew there was some chaos in the works. Whether it was at the castle or anywhere else in the land, he knew there was something that just wasn't right, which is why he walked away from the guild hall in the first place. Something was off, and he knew it. And so he leaned in just a little bit further. I was able to hear the witches talking about Aurelle and this unicorn and this amazing meeting that had occurred, because they'd seen this moment through their scrying. They were able to see Aurelle with the unicorn and the bond that was created. They began discussing between themselves, amongst the witches, who was going to go after Aurelle and this unicorn. The thief, sitting in the bushes, chose a higher path. Chose not to go down those dark ways of what he had been doing. Kind of had a change of heart. But he was still technically a thief, very high in the guild hall. As far as his rank, his status. So, after finding out about this going after Aurelle from the witches, our thief returned to the guild hall, where he could spend the night in relative safety, with no stress, no problems. And also he could sit and he could contemplate what he was going to do with the information. Now guys, I'm going to leave it right there. The thief is at the guild hall. I'm just going to pull that aside. I'll slap this puppy back in here. Now we have Aurelle, their unicorn. Anyway, thanks guys. I'd love it if you would share, like, subscribe, comment below if this is something that is interesting to you, if the story is actually catching your attention. I thank you. My name is Jason. This is Storytime. Tarot Tales, the story of Aurelle. Thanks guys.